He walked in unnoticed, a man in a plain gray hoodie, jeans, and worn sneakers, blending right into the crowd. No one would have guessed the truth, that beneath that quiet smile was a man who owned the very restaurant he just sat down in. Tonight, he wasn't the boss. He was just a customer, watching, listening, testing loyalty. And that's when she appeared, a young waitress, barely in her 20s, eyes tired but kind, moving table to table with a practiced grace. When she reached his booth, neither of them realized their worlds were about to collide, because the moment he ordered his steak, she slipped him a note, and what was written inside, it stopped him cold. Stick around for this true-to-life story that proves integrity speaks loudest when nobody's watching. And before we begin, if you believe kindness can change lives, hit that like button, subscribe for more powerful stories, and let's dive right in. It was nearing closing time at the Hearth and Oak, an upscale steakhouse tucked in the heart of the city. The dinner rush had calmed, leaving behind soft jazz, dimmed lights, and scattered guests finishing their wine. Michael Hunter, CEO of the Hearth and Oak chain, sat in the corner booth. Tonight wasn't about profits or spreadsheets. It was about the people. His people. Michael had built his empire from nothing. Raised by a single mother who worked double shifts at diners, he knew the struggles of service workers. That's why he often visited his locations undercover, just to see the truth behind the smiles. He watched. A server with sleek blonde hair laughed a little too hard with a wealthy table near the window. Another waiter slyly pocketed a tip from an unattended table. And then there was her, the young waitress named Ellie. She moved quietly, almost invisible to the others. No flashy smile, no exaggerated charm, just grace, honesty, and hard work. She approached his table, pad in hand. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to Hearth and Oak," she said softly, offering a tired but genuine smile. "Would you like to hear tonight's specials?" Michael nodded, hiding his identity behind his ball cap and glasses. "I'll have the house ribeye, medium rare, and a glass of your Cabernet." Ellie jotted it down, her hands slightly trembling. Whether from fatigue or nerves, he couldn't tell. "Coming right up." She walked away, but as she did, Michael noticed something. Her shoes were worn thin, the soles nearly peeling. Her uniform, though neat, had been mended at the seams. She's struggling, he thought. Still, she carried herself with pride. Minutes later, she returned with his wine. But instead of placing it down like usual, she subtly slid a folded note under the glass coaster. "Please, just read it," she whispered, her eyes flicking toward the kitchen, panic in her voice. Then she disappeared. Michael unfolded the note beneath the table. "Please help me. The head chef has been harassing me. I have no one else to turn to. I'm afraid to leave tonight." His chest tightened. His fingers curled around the paper, crumpling it in his palm. Suddenly, everything slowed. The laughter from the front table, the clink of glasses, the smug glance from the head chef, Brent, a man Michael had received glowing reviews about for months. Michael's mind raced. How many others had been silenced? How long had this gone on under his nose? But he didn't react. Not yet. He watched. Ellie avoided Brent's gaze, keeping her distance, her hands shaking as she served another table. Michael's voice was low, but steady when he called over another waiter. "Can you send Chef Brent out to speak with me? Tell him the man in booth 9 has a business proposal." Moments later, Brent swaggered out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron. A smug smirk plastered across his face. "You wanted to see me?" Brent said, towering over the table. Michael removed his glasses, locking eyes with him. "I did," Michael said, his voice cutting through the room like a knife. "You're fired." Brent's face paled. What? "You can't." Michael stood, his presence suddenly commanding. "Oh, I can," he said firmly, his voice loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. "I own this restaurant, and I know exactly what you've been doing." Brent stammered, eyes darting around, but no one came to his defense. Ellie froze nearby, her eyes wide in disbelief. Michael continued, his voice unwavering. "You'll be escorted out immediately, and if you ever step foot in this building again, the police will be involved." By then, A few regulars had pulled out their phones, recording the scene. Security arrived, ushering Brent out as he shouted obscenities. Silence followed. Michael turned toward Ellie. "Ellie, would you mind joining me for a moment?" he asked gently. She approached, clearly shaking. I didn't know who else to tell," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I was so scared." Michael's tone softened. "You did the bravest thing anyone could have done tonight." He pulled out his phone and made a call right there, loud enough for the remaining staff to hear. "HR? Yes, it's Michael Hunter. Effective immediately, Ellie is promoted to assistant floor manager, with full benefits and a pay raise. Also, schedule a full staff training on harassment prevention by next week." The room erupted in quiet applause. Ellie broke down in tears, covering her face in her hands. Michael offered a comforting smile. "You deserve to work in a place where you feel safe and respected," he said gently. "From now on, this will be that place." That night, Ellie's courage changed not just her life, but the entire restaurant. Because sometimes the smallest act, like slipping a note, can spark the biggest change. And Michael Hunter? He left that night knowing one thing for sure. True leadership isn't about sitting in offices or reading reports. It's about standing up when it matters most. If you saw something wrong at your workplace, would you have the courage to speak up? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful stories like this.